We saw a sign today on the way here. It said, work soft, play hard. It was an advertisement. This is what Shaitan's telling these people. Work soft and play hard. This is what they're doing. They're reduced. Today, the newspaper, the major story was the Super Bowl. Front page, major story. And in the back, in the business section, Greenspan said, we're in big trouble. This is bread and circus of the Romans. It's bread and circus. Give them bread and give them circus. And whenever things got hard for the Roman politicians, what did they do? They gave them more bread and more circus. This is what they do in Ramadan now in the Muslim countries. They say the best television programs are in Ramadan. Well, that's because the Iblis is behind the programming. And that's why they call it programming. Because you're being programmed. And he's the programmer. He's behind it all. They had a cartoon in an American newspaper of a guy opening a door that said tech support. And he opens it and it was hell. And there was the devil behind the computer with all the wires coming down there. And it said, now I understand the internet. I mean, even their cartoonists can see it. And cartoonists in this country are the only people that are allowed to say the truth. The only real news in the newspapers is in the cartoons. Because they're the court jesters. Court jesters were characters that were allowed to say the truth to the king because they were considered fools. And this is why they'll tell the truth in the cartoons. Really, Trudeau and all these characters and Tom Tomorrow. These guys are Tom Tomorrow, if you want real news, just read Tom Tomorrow. He's the only serious news analyst in America as far as I'm concerned. And he's a cartoonist. I'm not making that up. I'm really serious. These people, we have the solution to the crises of this country. And we should want to salvage this country. There's no reason why we should want to see this country destroyed. There's all these Muslims and it's troubling for me because I'm living here, but they're all saying, Allahumma dammar America, Allahumma shattid shamlahum, Allahumma armil nisa'ahum, Allahumma armil nisa'ahum, Allahumma yattim awladahum. I mean, I'm hearing it in the masajid and I'm thinking, man, I had a Mauritanian Shaykh. I was in the middle of the desert and he was saying, Allahumma asqit ta'iratihim min as-sama'i. And I said, Ya Shaykh, ana arkab ala tilka ta'irat. I ride on those planes. He said, Ma falik, ma yasiluka. It's not gonna, if you're on the plane, it's okay. Seriously, we have to realize we've got things to do here. You know, when I was recently in Arabia, and there was a deaf person came into the room, and there was a person there, and I started talking to him through this interpreter, and he said, "Where's he from?" And he said, Shaykh Abdullah Qazi said he's from America, so he went like this, and I said, "What was that?" And he said, "That's America." In Arabic, sign language. I said, what does that mean? He said, you know, cowboys, like shoot them. And that's America. If you want a sign for America to a deaf Arab, you say, we want to change that. Really, these people need to get that change. I said, well, how do you say English? And he said, and I said, why? He said, because of BBC, they're always talking. And then he asked me where I was going. I said, first, and then... But that really bothered me. That's what he said. That's America. Shoot them up. Bang, bang. That's what they do. Just go in, nuke them. That's a good American phrase. We ought to nuke the whole lot of them. Those sand Arabs. We ought to nuke them. Ragheads. They developed the neutron bomb for the Arabian Peninsula. People really, I'm not making that, they developed the neutron bomb because the neutron bomb kills all the people and leaves the oil refineries standing. It was designed to solve the problem of not destroying the infrastructure. So you can kill all the people and you can still wait a little while until all that nuclear fallout dissipates and then you go in and get your oil. A'udhu billah. What is that? This is a sickness of the mind. Their children, our children, their children, our children, a lot of Muslim children are watching daily television, violence on TV. It's haram in Sharia to watch a person being killed. It's haram to watch that. Unless it's for the hudud. And there, a group of believers are supposed to watch it as a deterrent. But it is actually haram to go and see things like that. To watch torture, any of these type things. This is desensitization. In this country now, we have daily acts of violence that we can't understand anymore. They don't even have a frame of reference. They have a Lieutenant Colonel, Dave Grossman, who wrote a book called On Killing. And it's worth reading this because he's written some very important material. This man taught the psychology of killing at West Point. And he said basically what they're doing now in videos is they are training children to become assassins. Because the Army uses the exact same desensitization techniques for training assassins in the Army. The same technique. They have policemen. You want to know why Ahmed Diallo was killed? You go look how they train the policemen. They train them on video games. Did people know that? They train them on video games. They don't, see, it used to be in the old days, they didn't train people to react. They trained them to think. Because that's what you want. You wanted a policeman who thought before he acted. Like harb. The idea of thinking before you act. Because to kill a human being is not a simple thing. And anybody who's ever done it, and there might be somebody in this room who's done it. Anybody who's ever killed a human being knows what that means. I met a man who was an assassin in Vietnam. He became Muslim. And he told me that he was trained to kill people only when he saw their faces. He blew their heads off. And I asked him, he killed many people. And I asked him once, I said, do you ever see those faces? He said, every night. Every night. This what's happening out here? We had, do people know who Brian Wilson is? Not the Beach Boy. Do people know who Brian Wilson is? He's a Vietnam vet who started an organization, an anti-war organization. He lost his legs because he laid on tracks for a train that was taking military hardware that would be taken to Nicaragua to kill Sandinistas. He put his body on the tracks, and because the FBI warned the conductor about terrorists there, the conductor ran over this man's legs and cut his legs off. He lectures now. The man who was assigned by the FBI to watch this man actually ended up quitting the FBI and joining this man's organization. And they lectured together. This ex-FBI agent and this ex-Vietnam vet. What this Vietnam veteran said was his job in Vietnam was to assess the successful bombing missions. What that meant was he had to go into villages and see what the death count was. Because that's how successful the bombing mission was, how many people were killed. And when he came back to this country, he became a lawyer, and for 10 years he said he never talked about what he saw, but he lived with it every single night. He lived with it every single night of his life. And then he became a counselor to Vietnam veterans in Boston. And he began, every time that he would counsel these vets, they would end up basically just crying together. I know a man who drives a taxi in the Bay Area who told me every night he drives home Vietnam veterans in this country who weep after getting drunk in a bar. And they say, do you know what we did? There have been more Vietnam veterans have killed themselves than soldiers died on the American sides fighting in Vietnam. Suicide rates. You think it's easy to go and tyrannize people? You think that's an easy thing to be an oppressor? It's not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing. They suffer. And that's why we have to give victory to the oppressed and to the oppressor. And the way we give victory to the oppressor is to stop him from his oppression. And that's our role in this country. And if we're silent about it, then we're cowards. And that's what we are. And if you're not willing to speak out for the truth and take the consequences, then you're in the wrong religion. Because that's what this religion is about. It's about standing up for the truth. And the greatest shaheed is the one who speaks the truth in front of unjust authority. It's not the one who goes out and kills a bunch of people. It's the one who speaks the truth in the face of unjust authority. That's what the shaheed is. In this deen, that is the highest shahada. Kalimatul haq and the sultan al-jair. And we need to speak the truth because we're still living in a country where you're permitted to speak the truth. You're permitted. They will do things, and we know that, but that's not our concern. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is wali alladhina amanu. We're not here to blow up anything. I'm in this country, musta'man. I'm in this country, I'm not here to blow up anything. I'm not here to kill anybody. I'm not here to subvert anything other than the dominant paradigm. That's all I'm interested in subverting. I'm interested in subverting kufr. And that's what we're here to do. If you want to do something else, then you make hijrah from this country. You make hijrah from this country and you go to another place. But as long as you're in this country, your job in this country is to spread peace and spread the truth. When the Messenger of God sallallahu alaihi wasallam went to Medina, Abdullah ibn Salam, the great Jewish rabbi who became Muslim, went to hear the words, and he said, the first words I heard from the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam were, he said the first thing he noticed, he said, "Ma kana wajhuhu wajha kadhab." His face was not the face of a liar. And this is called firasa, because the Arabs knew firasa. They knew what a good face was and a bad face. And then he sat and listened to the words, and the first thing the Messenger of Allah said, Ya ayyuhan nas, afshu salam. O humanity, spread peace. Wa at'imu ta'am. And feed food. وَصَلُّوا بِالنَّاسِ وَصَلُّوا بِاللَّيْلِ وَالنَّاسُ نِيَامٌ. And pray in the night when people are sleeping. تَدْخُلُ الْجَنَّةَ بِالسَّلَامِ. And you'll enter paradise in security and in peace. That's the message of Islam. أَفْشُوا السَّلَامِ وَأَطْعِمُوا